Okay, guys. Yeah, welcome to today. And this is what one of the things that I start out with is a rant. Okay, and there's a lot of things to rant about, but one thing I always rant about is driving. Okay, so I don't know if y'all get on a 2-lane highway, right? And you always got some clown that is in the left lane and always wants to drive under the speed limit, and he will not move. Okay, so you got a guy in the right lane that's obeying the speed limit. Maybe he's going 5 under, which is fine, but the guy in the left lane is tugging on his blind spot, just cruising along trying to pass him. Now this happens a lot with semis because for whatever reason they don't want to go over the speed limit to pass, and they got a train of cars behind them waiting in line. Okay, but I'm just talking about the average Joe. The guy's driving, and if you look ahead, he's always there. And if you look behind, once you get around him, he doesn't get over. He stays in that lane. And people, you must understand, if you meet somebody or beeps at somebody that, okay, so if you know somebody like this, you got to tell them, dude, listen, that lane is only meant to pass. It's not meant to cruise in. You can cruise in the right lane. You can get your lazy, over, and then you can pass the next guy if he's going too slow for you. But that lane is meant for people that are disobeying the speed limit and they're accelerating, or they are cruising at a speed way above the speed limit. That is what that lane is for. Okay. Now, according to the law, that you are not supposed to exceed the speed limit even in order to pass someone. Okay. But who does that? Nobody does. Everybody either accelerates, they're going faster than the speed limit, and they don't really give a crap. Okay. Which my only deal is, and the whole title of this rant is, get over. Just get over. Okay. Once you do your business, get out of that lane. I don't care if you and nobody's there. Get over to the right-hand lane and cruise all you want. That's my rant for today. I can't stand it. It bothers me to no end. And tomorrow we'll do another one because I have so many rants. Okay, it's just the way it is. Now, I listen, to me, I'm not interested in the person themselves. Okay, I'm not. I don't care about Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Nancy Pelosi or the guy at the grocery store. Listen, they're their own person. They have no idea what they're doing, right or wrong. They're just following what they think is right or wrong, right? So even the most evil person in the world, and I wouldn't put it on Putin being, I think I'm not holding Putin's water or nothing, but getting into all this oil crisis stuff, oil crisis, is that, it's coming down the road, whether we like it or not, who's ever in charge, how they got there, it's going to be, it's planning that. Now, my personal opinion on the whole oil deal is if you don't want the oil and you want to come up with some kind of other form of energy, okay, we're not talking about products here, we're talking about energy, all right? Make a plan of 20, 30, 50, 100 years from now. Don't do it overnight. The people with money are making these rules. The people in charge, the people that have multi-millions of dollars, whether it's Biden or Pelosi or Trump or whoever, these guys are making these rules, okay? And the average guy, and they're always trying to protect the minorities or the lower class income people, but they're tagging these guys because you raise, I don't care what it is, if it's diesel fuel, if it's gasoline. I mean, you figure gasoline, you're delivering everything from groceries to flowers. I don't care what it is. The average guy's getting back and forth to work. And then you got diesel, which every semi-truck in the world runs on diesel fuel, right? So I just spoke to a guy the other day, and he owns a small trucking transportation company. He's got 20 rigs, right? He told me in a 2-week period, his gasoline to fill up all of his trucks, they're a 300-gallon truck, he's got 20 of them, to fill each one of them trucks up and combine it all together, is an extra $12,000. Now, how do you do that? He told me I gotta pass that along to the customer. Simple as that. You're going to pay for it. Okay. So this is one of the things that I'm talking about. See, now the president doesn't. He can't get his bill passed on his climate thing. So what is he doing? He's skirting around, and he's getting the. Let me see. It says. President Biden does not have the most votes to pass his energy policy, so instead he tries to use the the Fed and the SEC. This is what it says. The Securities and Exchange Commission is proposing for public comment amendments to its rules under Section Act of 1933, Securities Act, that would require registrants to provide certain climate-related information in their registered reports and annual registration statements and annual reports. The proposal rules would require information about a registrant's climate-related risk. Okay? So, in other words, they're going to pass the buck on all of individuals, businesses, commercial companies that have to identify or fill out information or record or translate or register their climate-related emissions. Let me see what else it says. Requirement information under climate-related risk would also include disclosure of registrant greenhouse gas emission, which has become a commonly used metric to assesses the registrant's exposure to such risk. In addition, under the proposed rules, certain climate-related financial metrics would be required in a registrant's audited financial statements. So it's an anti-carbon policy, for whatever reason. Now, I don't, whatever side you fall on the climate change, whatever, you think is happening to the world or whatever. I've been around long enough to remember, the oil crisis, right, in the 70s. And that really transformed our auto industry, a lot of our industry, as far as shifting work from here over to other countries that are in short supply of, oil, right? So a lot of these countries already had smaller vehicles, gas, vehicles that did well under gas. They had higher MPGs than American cars. So a lot of these companies were ahead of us in getting, back then in the late 70s, 79, gas jumped up, quite a bit. I remember paying gasoline at up to $4 or $5 a gallon for a short period of time, which was nuts. I mean, I was scraping pennies and nickels and dimes out of my dad's couch after a poker game. So, all of us buddies would get together and we'd, throw our change up on the counter at the gas station and say, here, this is what, sometimes it was only a half a gallon, but it got us to where we needed to go, right? And so I remember that time. I remember in the 70s, early 80s, when they were talking about climate, the earth is cooling and we're into another ice age. And then it was the ozone layer, right? We were worried about the big hole in the ozone layer. So they started the Freon deal and get rid of refrigerators and change, the Freon in cars, whatever, right? And then in the 70s, it was the overpopulation scare, where we had movies that Charlton Heston came out with. What was it? The Soylent Green, right? About, we're eating people.
Soylent Green is people!
Because there were so many people, there was not enough food. And that's where we got to the point where we changed, the federal government, the FDA hired a gentleman to change the order of the wheat. They didn't have GMOs back then, but what he did was he grafted a lot of these grasses that the human body cannot eat. And what they wanted was a form of wheat that would grow more bushels per area, right? They wanted more bushels per acre, and so we got that out of it. Then there was what are we? So we had the ozone layer. Then we got into the global warming. So we went from the global freeze to the global warming, and now global warming doesn't work because we've been in the global warming since Al Gore in the early '90s, right? Al Gore in the mid '90s. I don't know where Al Gore went. Now we went from Al Gore to what's his face, Dan. Is his name Dan? I don't know. If I don't have this stuff in front of me, man, I forget, right? So we went from all that. Now, we went from Al Gore to this clown, and that was a mid to late 90s. Now here 10, 20, almost 30, 25 years later, and I don't know where you live, but it's still doggone cold all the time. I mean, it's normal. Every year varies. We don't get, it's not like you punch it in a program and every day is going to be sunny and 75 until fall, and then you get a few cold days, and then the winter you get 3 or 4 months of winter, and then you go back to nobody's programming that. If you go back through history, tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, disasters were all part of mankind since the beginning of time, right? So whether it was the Ice Age back then with the woolly mammoths you think about it, the Earth has been warming up since then, because where I live, we were all under, ice, thick layer of ice. I mean, it went all the way down to where? North Carolina, Tennessee areas. So we've been in a global warming spell since 1,000 years, whenever this took place. And as the new nominee for Supreme Court Justice define women, I can't define climate because I'm not a climatologist, so I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But I can live through it. I can live every month, every day, every month, every year since I was a young man that I remember, and I have never seen the same year weather pattern the same. It seemed like one year was so hot. I remember in the 80s when, I was doing a lot of work outside in construction, and we had, what do they say, 100 days of no rain and high heat in the 90s or 100. But the next year we ended up getting in a freeze. We didn't have that. The next year after that, we got a lot of rain or flooding. And then the next year, I remember, what was it, late 90s, trying to grow a garden. It was so cold that summer, the tomatoes wouldn't even grow. I mean, I had a poor crop of tomatoes. So it doesn't, that's the way I look at it. I look at it history. I look up to today. I've been around long enough to know that there's really, we get a change of climate if you're, weather every freaking year, because it's never the same. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Now listen, I'm done with that today. Okay. Now I do remember that guy's name. His name is John Kerry. That's who it is, not Dan. It takes a little bit longer to everything catch up with my mouth, right? And I'm sure you're the same way too when you start running your mouth. But yeah, we're going to cut that off today. I get on these distractions and get caught up with nonsense. But listen, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that. It helps me. It helps my ego. And to get this channel out there to everybody else. Now, I like to stick to the biblical narrative, okay? Now, I'm not coming against any individual. I don't like doing that. I find myself sometimes doing that, and I really don't look at individual. We have no idea what we're doing. None. What we're doing is what we've been taught, what we've learned over the years from time we were in the womb, okay? And basically we had a lot of engineering that goes along with that instruction, right? So we get that from everybody, from our teachers to our parents to our neighbors to those who helped us out, those who abused us, whatever it may be. And we turn that into who we are today, right? Whatever side you fall on. Now, I am not a Democrat. I am not a liberal or progressive, and I'm not a Republican or a conservative. I don't fall underneath any of that, Okay, I don't label myself independent or whatever. I am a Bible believing Christian. Now, I believe that whatever it is, an automobile, whether it's an airplane, there was a creator, there was an engineer who put that together, whatever way it is, whether he instructed the design, the architects, whoever laid all this out, to the guy that's doing the nuts and bolts. There was a creator to that product. Now, if you came along and, 10,000 years ago, and all of a sudden the car shows up and you said, wow, that evolved from whatever, the minerals in the ground and turned into, what? No, everything has a creator, whatever it is. So, and the earth is no different. The earth has a creator. All right. It's easier for me to believe that there's a creator than something just appeared and then it evolved. I always like to look at it like this. If you have a human that evolved from an ape, why isn't there a million other species that are far more intelligent on this planet than just us? Okay. How isn't there not a human form of a dolphin, or a human form of an eagle, or a human form of a... They don't even have to be human. They just have to be intelligent. And what are we were the best and we wiped them all out? I mean, is that what you're saying? So we evolved over a period of time, and we were the master of everything. We could, kill everything. But to me, there would be some other form in the water. Okay, that whatever. If there was a species in the water that had underwater had, the city of Atlantis, whatever it may be. I don't know. But it just seems to me that instead of us trying to communicate and relate to other humans, we would have a form of millions of other species that were related to humans. This might seem pretty simplistic and childish, but for me, it's pretty childish to believe that one cell amoeba just happened to form out of something that wasn't there, and then evolved over a billion of millions and billions of years into what we have today as a human, right? So, it would just naturally occur in every other... you talk about insects to birds to sea mammals to snakes. I don't care what it is. There's billions of different life forms on this planet, and you can tell me we're the only one that happened to survive? Now, I don't believe that. If you go back to the book of Genesis, you can believe whatever you want. This is a free world, right? Even if you're in a slave country and you're held under the brutality of that government, you still have a mind to think that, hey, I believe that man evolved from an ape, or man was evolved from God put in an ape. I don't know, whatever way you want to look at it, but you can have your own little world. You can go sit down by a tree somewhere without this overlord oppressing you, and you can write in the dirt and come up with your own idea. You have a free mind, right? They can't suppress your free mind. There's nobody on this planet that can do that. They can brutalize you. They can torture you. They can force you. They can do all these things in order for you to comply. But when you're alone by yourself, you can think anything you want. Even if you're not communicating, you're walking in a straight line. Yes, you're still thinking whatever you want to think. So we all have a free mind. You do whatever you want. That is so, for a human to have his free will to think about whatever he wants is excellent. And no government, no dictator in the world is going to tell you any different. They might force things around you, but they can't get into your brain and force you to comply to what they think. Simple as that. It's not happening. I don't care. I don't think it'll ever happen unless we get some microchip and you're turned into a robot. Yeah. So that's the daily deal. Okay, I appreciate you guys hitting the subscribe button, hitting me up on all the forums of wherever you see this. Wherever you see this video, subscribe to it, share it with your buddies, your family, your friends, your mom, your dad, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, whoever it may be. I don't care if it's somebody that disagrees with you. Throw it at them. I'd appreciate it because, like I said, it does help my ego. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next video. Bye now.